Holloway hasn't let travel and social distancing restrictions stand in the way of his reaching out and meeting thousands of people in the Rutgers community virtually. We are so fortunate that he is joining us this evening to celebrate the opening of the 2020 Rutgers Virtual Jewish Film Festival, our 21st year. It is with pleasure and pride that I welcome Dr. Jonathan Holloway.
Good evening. Thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Thank you all for having me here today. When I would say a couple of weeks ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Karen Small and Dr. Nancy Sinkoff from the Builder Center for the Study of Jewish Life, and got an introduction to the important work of that center and also to this film festival. And with so many other things that are just tough to handle, the fact that this film festival can't be happening in person is just a frustration, of course. But as I've learned very quickly in my short time here, Rutgers is incredibly resilient, and we will be back, and we'll be celebrating this film festival next year in person. And if you have me, I'll be there in person. So I want to thank Sharon Karmazin, the lead benefactor from the film festival, of course, Karen Small and Nancy Sinkoff for their incredible work. I want to thank the main sponsors, the Karma Foundation and the Blanche and Irving Laurie Foundation. It is terrific to have something to celebrate in tough times. And as I said before, to point to the fact that Rutgers and the Rutgers community will not be distracted from pointing attention to the things that deserve positive attention. It's wonderful to showcase these diverse films that are part of this film festival on Jewish life for a broad public, and to illustrate that Rutgers is committed to a wide community, friends, alumni, New Jersey residents, and given COVID, the entire world. This is a really important festival. I'm so glad so many of you are virtually here to enjoy it in this way, especially for tonight's special program. Thank you again for coming here. Thank you for welcoming me. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, President Holloway.
You love him already, because I do.
Okay, we are going to move on to our program. Hold on, we are gonna make sure people are on mute who should be on mute. Okay, and our opening day film, as we announced, is Aulcie. I'm gonna get to that in just a minute. Before we start, I did want to let people know that we're suggesting that when you're choosing which films to watch and what order to watch them in, because this year you have the option to watch anytime you want. You don't have to show up at the theater at the particular hour that we have scheduled the movie. But we have scheduled a number of talks, a number of film talks with film directors. And I'm going to try to share here we go. Let's see if I can share my screen with you. Just to give you a sense, we've created a calendar. This is up on our website to give you an idea of when the various film talks are being held. So you'll see tonight, of course, we're here with Aulcie. And Thursday is our next talk, 7 p.m., Latter-day Jew, with the subject, the documentary, H. Alan Scott. Friday, there's a talk with the director of Honeymoon, and you can go through the rest yourself. This calendar is located on the Builder Center's website on the Film Festival page. It says upcoming speakers. Just stop sharing that. There's also a biography and a photo of each speaker who will be coming up. So that is a way that you can plan your film watching to go along with the speaker talks. The talks will also be recorded and posted on our website a day or two after they take place, as soon as we can get them up. So if you miss it, if you're not available that particular day or time, you will be able to catch them at a later date. Okay, I'm going to move on and welcome one of our guests. I don't see both of them here yet, and maybe someone can help me out with, there we go. Let me ask. Okay, so tonight's film, Aulcie, was released very recently. The filmmaker is Dani Menkin. Many of you may recall his film in the 2016 Film Festival, On the Map, which was the, oh, wonderful, Dani Menkin just wrote to me, he's here, but let me see, I think can somebody, one of the staff find him and let him in? He may not be getting in. Okay, wait, I got it. We're on a few different time zones here. We've got Dani Menkin coming in from California and Aulcie
Okay,
Perry coming in from Israel. Dani, we see you, but you are
I'm
silent.
tilted.
You're
Okay,
tilted. Yeah,
is that better or
that's perfect. Much better.
is
Okay,
that better? What's best for you?
that's good.
That's okay? I'm
That's
not
great.
tilted?
Yes,
Okay,
that's
cool.
great. Okay, let's see how we get you a little larger though. There we go. Okay. So Dani, I was just saying, we had a fabulous screening of your film On the Map back in
Mhm.
2016, where you were here for one of the screenings at the Rutgers Business
Right?
School. Nancy
I remember that day. Yeah.
You were in New York actually, and you came out
Yes.
on Saturday night, and Nancy Spielberg came for the second screening of the film. She was the
Right.
producer. She's also involved in tonight's film. And Aulcie, I welcome you from Israel. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, listen,
How?
our pleasure. And you two get to say
What's up,
hello to
Dan?
each other.
Hello, Aulcie.
How you doing, Danny?
I am good. I'm good.
Okay.
So Aulcie,
Yeah.
welcome back to New Jersey.
Thank you.
I'm in New Brunswick, and most people on this call are from other places from around New Jersey.
Okay. Well, that's my home. Born and raised. Born and raised in Newark.
That's right. That's right. We have a few people here from Newark originally. So we're delighted to have you both with us.
Thank you.
So Dani, I'll start with you. We saw the film On the Map, which was about Israel's European Championship and bringing the team to glory. Why did you decide to make another film that focused just on Aulcie Perry?
Oh, so Aulcie knows that for a long time I wanted to tell his story. And because Aulcie's story had so many layers and Aulcie's been through so many things in life, it took him time to open up and to decide that this is the right time for him to tell the story. And as I show in the movie, he was also looking for his wonderful daughter, and he wanted to tell her the story. During that time, Rinat Klein, who is the coach, who is the daughter of the coach Ralph Klein, told me that there was never a movie about the legendary year of 1977. And we started to make that movie, and Aulcie was a big part of that story. It was, you know, the key that made the big difference for the team. So while we told the story of Aulcie, Tal Brody, and our incredible legends, and Aulcie Perry's story evolved, and he opened up a little bit more, and we decided that in many ways, the next story, the sequel for On the Map, will be his personal story, which is really unbelievable.
Yeah, amazing. Aulcie, did you have any reservations about a film being made about your life?
In the beginning, I did. That's why it took Danny 3 or 4 years to get me to agree to do it. I had things that had happened in my life in the past that I had closed. I didn't want to open it back up. Some really painful times, and so it was a difficult decision, and it was a difficult period of time doing the filming.
I'm sure. I mean, you told that you're so open about talking about your experience and your story and your daughter. We got to meet your son. We really appreciate that you opened up to Dani to tell their story. You know, it's also, you know, interesting in terms of bringing this film to the Rutgers Jewish Film Festival. Most of our films don't deal with the Black experience or African American experience. And Dani, do you think there was a particular reason to bring this film today in our moment?
We are very, I think we are very happy, and Aulcie will probably agree about it, that Aulcie's story started with his background, raising, you know, born and raised in time of racism in America, and finding his glory in Israel, and finding in many ways peace in who he is and what he's doing in our Holy Land and becoming Jewish. But at a time like now, you know, those stories are still here. You know, there's still much of this story, much of these incidents in America today. You can see it with the Black Lives Matter. You can see it with everything even related to the election that we just had. So we feel like bringing a wonderful, positive story from Israel about an African American that is falling in love with the country, and the country is falling in love with him, shows also aspect of, I will say, biracial love, by all means, not only because of the love story between Aulcie and Tammy, which was beautiful, but mainly because of the love story between Aulcie and Israel, and a love story that that takes place until today.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, here we are in New Jersey. It's really a love triangle between New
Yes, it
Jersey
is.
and Israel and you. Aulcie, would you tell us what it was like for you when you first went to Israel? What was it like being in a different country and making the decision that you wanted to stay there?
Okay. In the beginning, it was very difficult for me in a way that the language, I thought everybody was arguing and fighting. The language was so harsh for me. But once I started to play, and the feedback that I got from the people in Israel was unbelievable. And we started to win, and until today, the country hasn't forgotten that. And I'm talking about in 76 and 77 when we started.
Yeah, yeah. Well, just watching the film, I watched it again today, and just those scenes of you walking down the street and people kind of like, there's Aulcie Perry. I mean, right? You're a superstar.
Yes, until today, it's like I'm still playing. Everywhere I go in Israel, it's like I'm still playing today. I get a warm welcome, and it's very, very good. Very good feeling.
Amazing. Oh, Dani, you are muted. Okay.
I'm here.
You know, we just had a question from someone who went to Roselle High School in New Jersey with a basketball player named Greg Cook. And they're wondering, Aulcie, if you knew Greg Cook, who I think was also recruited for the Israeli team.
Yeah, I know Greg very well. He was from Roselle, New Jersey, and he played in Haifa. He played here in Haifa. I know him very well.
I know we're going to get a lot of these kind of local questions. Somebody from Weequake, undefeated 1967 team. So they're thrilled to meet you. This is Calvin. Okay, just to sort of keep us moving along. And I think we lost Dani for a second. But I wanted to ask about the difference in the Israeli reactions to the film and American audiences' reactions to the film. And Dani, maybe you can speak to that, or Aulcie, maybe you can speak to that a little bit more. Was there a difference, and how has the film been received?
Texting you.
I don't have my phone. Dani?
Yes, I mean, my impression is that in Israel, everybody knows Aulcie Perry, so it was pretty clear that it's, you know, it's part of our culture. In the United States, I found out that people discover his story. I think for Aulcie, you can talk about it more. You know, in Israel, everybody you walk on the street, you are Aulcie. In the United States, you know, and how did they react to your story over there?
Okay, a lot of people in Israel, everybody knew everything about my life. So the good times and the times that wasn't so good. And that's the part that I didn't want to really open back up again. I had put behind me. So to show the difference between, that's the difference between showing it in Israel and showing it in the States. People at home, my family and friends, they didn't know the success that we had there in Israel, and they didn't know about some of the mistakes that I made as well. So I got a different feeling. Like Dani said, everybody knows me in Israel, so they know all my life, everything about me.
Right. Yeah. So, so for your family and friends and people back in Newark and around the country, this was their first time, a lot of them, hearing about the success as a basketball player, and then also the troubled times that you had.
Yes, exactly.
So I wanted to talk a little bit about your kids and your son, who appears in the film as a young boy, and then later as a grown man. I wasn't sure how old he was. Have you stayed close with your son?
Oh yes, we've been very close the whole time. And my last year that I played in Israel, he was with me. He was with me in Israel. And we're still close and together until today. Good, he's doing well.
And where does he live now?
He lives in Philadelphia.
He lives in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Okay, go Philadelphia.
Yeah.
A very important town now, you know.
Yes, it is. Huh?
It's very important.
You never know, right? It made the difference. And could you tell us a little bit about your connection to your daughter and what her response was to the film?
Yes. I can't hear you.
The response of Sierra to the movie, and they're asking about how did she react to your movie, to the movie, and to the story.
She was very surprised that she had a dad that played international basketball. And unbelievable. She's still thinking about it, and she's still watching it, going over and over again. She doesn't want to miss no part of it. That's it.
Has she been to Israel?
Not yet. We're working on the name change between her mother when her mother remarried wasn't done it correctly. So we're working on that now to get the change for the passport. You know, the mother married and changed the name without doing it correctly. So we're fighting with that right now.
And I hope she's able to come soon.
Yes, she'll be. She'll soon as we get this passport, she'll be here.
Awesome. Aulcie, we have a question from someone in the audience. They're asking, did you feel any extra pressure from being a natural basketball player? Did you feel any special obligation to live up to a certain goal because of your talent?
Yes, but towards the end of my career, that's when everything fell apart. Both of my parents is from rural North Carolina. My great-great-grandparents and my great-grandparents were born in slavery. So I come from a very tough time. My dad had to leave home when he was 12 and a half years old. So, you know, and growing up in Newark was not a joke. It was very tough growing up in the inner city of Newark. And basketball was all I had. Basketball was my way out of a bad situation I was born into. And God blessed me to be 6'5" at 13 and a half years old. And that's all I did. This was my way out. This is my way. And basketball. Now I would do it different. I would put the education in as much as I did with the basketball, and I didn't. And when the time came to retire, I wasn't ready, and I didn't even want to hear about it. But my body wouldn't let me go on, and I started to take pain pills, and got into a lot of trouble. That's cost me a lot of trouble.
Yeah. Well, the story of your recovery is very inspiring. And I have somebody here asking, you know, how did you get past it and get through it? And do you have a message for other people who might be struggling with a similar kind of addictions?
Once I was inside, I realized that I had to change everything. So it was a work within myself for a few years. I had to work on myself. I was lucky that, unfortunately, it was a white collar crime. So I was inside with a lot of Jewish people from Wall Street at the time. So they helped me, and they did a lot, helped me. And the Lubavitch also came by every week, and they helped me. And so it, slowly, I got back to myself and put things in this right order.
Amazing. And how is your health today?
Pretty good. I had a scare a few years ago. I had aneurysm in my aorta, and it was really very close to death. But thank God I made it through.
Excuse me. I had a question someone sent me this morning to ask you. I can't think if it was Mati, I think. He wanted to know why you had a second bris if you happened to have been born in a Jewish hospital, which was by coincidence, although maybe by design, right? Somehow, somewhere. And you had a bris. It looked like with a formal ceremony. But then when you converted to Judaism, you had another. I think it was a symbolic.
It's symbolic, yes. To come into the Jewish fold, you have to say a prayer, and the circumcision. So when I converted, I went from the audience onto the bench in the front of the synagogue, and the Moel came and did the prayer, and he only had to draw blood.
Because you'd already had the circumcision. Okay.
Yes.
Yes, lucky. That was really lucky on your mom's part, not to need to stop at that hospital.
That was, we're talking about in 1950. And in 1950, in Newell, the designated hospital for blacks was the city hospital, and it was on the other side of town. So my dad couldn't make it. He couldn't make it there. My mother started delivering me in the car. And her water bus, so my dad just ran to the first hospital, and he went inside. He said, "Please, you got to help me. My wife is having the baby in the car." They came outside, and they saw I wasn't waiting, and they brought my parents in, and I was born in Beth Israel Hospital in Newark, New Jersey. And I tell people all the time that back in 1950 in the black community, circumcision was unheard of. And but when the rabbi came by to give the brit, he brit me too. So, but it was okay. I didn't know anything about it till I started to play basketball. We were 12 and a half years old. I went to the shower, they looking, and I'm looking. I said, something wrong here. So I had a few disturbing months trying to figure out what was going on until I went and spoke to my mom, and she explained everything to me.
Wow.
It was good.
It sounds like it was.
I'll never forget it. I thought I was born defected, deformed, or something was wrong.
Sounds like destiny. So, Aulcie, could you tell us a little bit about your involvement with Judaism today?
Yes, I have an Israeli that I've been with for 24 years now. So our home is kosher. We follow the holidays. We're very connected. We're very connected with her family. Also, they're very connected to the religion. So I try to follow it as much as I can.
Wow, amazing. Dani, I'm getting some questions. I hate to leave the questions with Aulcie, but some people are asking about your next project.
Yeah,
Can you talk about
I'm happy to. Yeah,
making it to a feature?
Yeah, I'm working on turning on the map into a feature. Aulcie knows that I'm very excited to write a screenplay and to work on a screenplay based on his story. I'm actually now talking to you guys from the set. I'm about to shoot a small movie called Little Town in north of Los Angeles. So I'm here. That's why you see the wind behind me, and it's not in my normal place. So yeah, I'm working on inspiring stories like Aulcie, and what I love, to do is telling good, positive stories. My production company Hey Jude Productions. If you guys want to see more, heyjudeproductions.com. You can put on the chat the website that people can come, support. And if they want to win a basketball signed by Aulcie and Tal Brody, they can do it by supporting our On the Map foundation. But mainly, we want to tell good, positive stories like the one of Aulcie, that is, a story that had a lot of hardship and challenges, but also redemption and inspirational. So that's what we're trying to do, to bring good stories to the world.
And do all of your films focus on Israel?
Not necessarily. No, this movie now I'm doing is totally American, but I am Israeli, and these are my childhood heroes. So I'm trying to make films about stories that I like and people that I love, and Aulcie is definitely one of them.
Yes, there's a little irony here that you're in the United States and Aulcie is in Israel.
We switched.
Right?
We switched.
Places.
I know. I
Yeah.
know. Yes. Because Aulcie made it big in Israel, and I'm trying to make it big in the United States. But we're both very much connected to both places. We're texting each other during the election now, and we're both very passionate about Israel and about the United States.
Right. Yes, we can see that. We see that coming through. Sarah, if you have other questions you've seen in the chat, I'm gonna just jump in. I'm trying to read them as we're talking. So Aulcie is 6'10". Somebody asked that question. Am I right? 6'10".
Yes, you're right.
And someone is asking if you still play basketball for fun today.
No. After the aneurysm, I stopped playing, but I'm coaching and working with kids in our youth program, Maccabi's youth program. So I've been there for quite some time, and I'm looking for the next Aulcie or the next Tal Brody.
Amazing. Somebody did ask about your parents, your family. Were they supportive of you making the move to Israel originally?
Very much so, because they in the beginning it was to go to play basketball. It was a job, and that's the way they looked at it. But I fell in love my first year. The first year we won the European Championship, and that was amazing, because when they hired me, they said we only need a player for 6 games. We're playing in the European Cup 25 years. We never made it out of the first round, and for us to make it, we went past the first round. We beat the Russians. And then to win the European Cup, my first year, my life changed. My life hasn't been the same. It hasn't been the same.
I'm not sure what that noise is. If you have other questions, I'll just remind people to put them in the chat, and we're reading through as they're coming in. Okay, so we have a couple of questions, Aulcie, that people are asking about. Your time in prison was in the United States. It was a 10-year sentence, which I believe you served the entire 10 years.
No, I did 5 years. 5 years.
5 years,
the 10
sorry.
Years.
I'm so happy I was wrong about that.
Yeah, 5 out of the, I was sentenced to 10 years, but I said for 5.
You served for 5. And were you in touch with your teammates or the coach from Maccabi Tel Aviv in that time?
I was in touch with Maccabi, not regularly, but a couple of teammates I was in contact with quite regularly, because I was so ashamed and so hurt and so bad. I couldn't face them in the beginning, and I couldn't. It was just I was devastated at that point.
Yeah. Well, coming from Newark and finding basketball, and then getting involved in drugs in such a later time and painkillers, it seemed like you were taken by surprise in a lot of ways. That's what happened.
You're completely right, because like I told you, my body just snuck up on me. It couldn't no more knees, no more ankles, and I realized I hadn't really prepared. I thought that if I played basketball and be the best that I could be in basketball, things would fall into place.
Oh, Aulcie, you just froze. I don't know if you
Still, I'm happy where I'm at now. I'm happy in life, and I'm happy where I'm at.
Great. In addition to coaching the youth league of Maccabi Tel Aviv, can you talk about any other things you're doing in Israel?
Well, I have the #1 basketball camp for 24 years. Me and my partner, another player in Israel, and we get kids from all over the world that comes because the parents, Israeli parents, that's working in different places. So I get kids from all over. It's the #1 camp, basketball camp in Israel. I also do seminars called Winning Team. And I've worked with all the major companies in Israel, their management, how to build, me and a partner, how to build a winning team. And we use basketball as our tool to show them how to build a winning team. So we're doing that. The Corona has stopped us, but also I'm going around and I'm doing a lecture about my life all over the country. Because when I got to Israel, nobody knew anything about me, what kind of life I lived, and it stayed like that because I said I didn't want to open that story, and it only opened now when Dani convinced me to make the film.
So you went back to Israel after you got out of prison, and then you stayed ever since.
24 years now. I've been back 24 years,
right,
and never leaving again.
People are actually asking. People are asking what your favorite place to visit in Israel is. I mean, you live there full time. But is there somewhere special that you love to go?
Jerusalem is one of the most special places for me in the world. When you go there and you go to the old city, you feel something. You feel when you walk inside. And also, I know the country very well, the Dead Sea area, the Golan area. I love to travel in Israel. You have 4 seasons in one small country. You can ski in the north in the wintertime and in the morning, and fly down to the beach and to Eilat in the afternoon. It's a great feeling.
You'll start doing some tourism videos for them.
Right. Okay. Sarah, you have a last question for us?
Yeah, there's a question about your sister. They said, obviously she played a major role in the film and loves you very much, and they're just curious about has she visited you in Israel also? They want to know about what her thoughts of the country are.
My sister's been coming to Israel since '77 after we won the championship, and she loves it here. And she lives in Pennsylvania, outside of Reading, Pennsylvania, and she's doing well. And yes, we're very close. I lost one sister. It was 3 of us, and my oldest sister, which was a year and a half older than me, she went to bed and never got up. She died in her sleep, 54 years old. So I have and my youngest sister, and we're very close, very, very close.
Wow. Well, Aulcie and Dani, thank you so much for joining us. Aulcie, I know for you it's about 1 a.m, so Israel time. So thank you so much for staying up with us and being part of this talk today and coming back to New Jersey, at least virtually. We greatly appreciate it. And Dani, also, thank you so much for coming back to our film festival. I hope next time we'll be in person.
In person, yeah, we have to do it. Aulcie and I, New Jersey. We have to do it in person. Nothing like it,
That's right. You'll add us to your tour. You'll add us to our tour. We'll meet the basketball players, here at the university. That would be fantastic.
Like we say, we'll put you on the map.
Well, we think Rutgers is on the map, but we'd love to have you part of it as well. We look forward to On the Map, the feature film. Sounds terrific. I know that's a big project of yours and your next inspiring film. All of them are. We love all your films. And I'm getting someone saying, I'm asking again, so I guess I have to ask.
One last question. Whether
or not the movie and the story, okay. Are your movie and story told in African American centers? I think she means in Israel, but I'm not sure. But aside from Jewish film festivals, I think that's the question. Other mainstream or African-American or Black American kind of center.
Yeah, we actually have submitted the movie to some international film festival and also African American film festival. As you know, a lot of them are either delayed or stopped because of COVID or are online. So it's a different kind of world. We're really hoping that the world is opening up now, and we are going to be able to show the movie and travel with it again, because we miss it and it's part of what we want to do, and there is nothing like it.
Right, right. Well, we all are pulling for you and hope that that happens as soon as possible for all of us. And
Mhm.
thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks
Thank
to
you,
everybody
Roger.
who joined us as well.
Yeah, we're
All right.
20
Appreciate it.
people,
Yeah.
120 screens, so it's great.
Right. All right.
Aulcie,
Good night, everyone.
Yeah.
hi to the family.
Okay, we'll do.
Okay.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Bye, thank you.
Good night. Thank you and good night.